Greetings, mortals, and welcome to the first episode of Hacking and Scripting House Rules, a show dedicated to being able to discuss all the house rules that I implement, all the new changes that I make compared to the vanilla game, in video format, because I question whether or not most of you actually read the Facebook posts. So before we talk about how the new, and hopefully permanent, house rule functions regarding critical successes, some of you may wonder what the actual critical hit rules are for D&D 5th edition. When a character rolls a natural 20 on any weapon, attack, or spell attack, that is, any attack that rolls a d20 against the target's armor class, that counts as a critical hit. According to the base rules of 5e, the attacker then simply rolls double the usual amount of dice they normally would. If attacking with a longsword in one hand, for example, the player, or monster, rolls 2d8 instead of 1d8, then adds their appropriate modifier, like strength or dexterity, depending on the weapon. The modifier they add is never doubled, you just double the amount of dice that you would normally roll. So what's the problem with this rule? See, the critical hit is usually pretty useful if you're rolling a high-level spell attack with 3 damage dice or higher, but most weapons only deal a single die of damage. This results in, potentially, rolling lower on a critical hit than you would on a normal attack. If you roll a 6 on a normal attack with a 1d6 short sword, but only roll 2 1s on a critical hit of 2d6, players could feel like the critical hit was essentially pointless. The solution to this problem is to guarantee a certain amount of damage so that a critical hit will always deal more damage than a normal hit. The issue, however, is that you have to balance this rule so that it doesn't make certain attacks or spells overpowered. Here's the current version of this rule we're going to be working with. For weapon attacks, a critical hit will first be rolled for normal damage, like any other attack. Once you've determined the total with your modifiers included, add the maximum possible damage you could ever roll with that weapon's base damage. For a short sword, that's 6. For a greatsword, that's 12. For the Viridian one, that's 200. There aren't too terribly many spells in the game that roll spell attacks and also deal lots of damage dice, but there are a solid amount. When landing a natural 20 on a spell attack, first take the highest damage number possible from all the dice you would normally roll. For example, instead of 3d6, you just start with 18. Then, roll half of the damage dice for that spell, rounded up. Vampiric Touch, for example, would normally roll that 3d6, but after maxing out damage at 18, you then roll an additional 2d6. This makes it so that when you get spells that roll high numbers of dice, they are guaranteed to deal more damage than normal without getting into ludicrous territory. An important note is that this rule also applies to any spells that amplify melee attacks. Paladin Smites and other spells that can be activated as a bonus action follow spell critical rules rather than weapon critical rules. The rule with spells will also apply to any monster that rolls higher than 2 dice for its attacks. Monsters often roll several dice for a melee attack, so this makes their criticals hurt but not completely destroy the players. So, that's my explanation of the new critical rules. I'm hoping they'll be able to stick and that they prove effective. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you guys in game.